When Yaman walked onto the red carpet that night, cameras flashed like lightning and fans screamed his name as if he were a god descending from the heavens. His dazzling smile lit up the scene, but what the world didn't know was that behind that smile, there was no joy, no love, only exhaustion. For months, Ken had been playing a role not for a TV drama, but for his own life. He was acting the part of a man in love, when deep down, he knew that love had never been real. The woman next to him, adored by the public, celebrated by the press, was not the one his heart beat for. Yet, he smiled. Because that's what everyone expected from him. The perfect couple, the fairy tale romance, the image of eternal happiness. But the truth? It was all built on a lie. Friends close to Ken began to notice the change, the way his eyes lost their warmth, the way his laughter turned mechanical. Every interview, every public appearance became a test of endurance. He wasn't just protecting a relationship, he was protecting an illusion. And while the world was falling deeper in love with the image of them, Ken was slowly falling apart inside. That fake smile became his armor, one that he wore so well that even those closest to him couldn't see through it anymore. But the illusion couldn't last forever. The cracks were already starting to show, and one event would soon expose everything. For years, the world believed in a love story that never existed. Cameras flashed, magazines printed headlines, and fans wrote endless comments about how perfect they looked together. Yaman, the man every woman dreamed of, and her, the woman who seemed to complete his picture-perfect life. They smiled, they posed, they gave interviews where every word seemed rehearsed, and every gesture calculated. But what no one saw was the truth hiding behind that brilliant smile, a truth darker and more painful than anyone could have imagined. Behind the charm, behind the fame, there was a man who felt trapped. Trapped inside an image created not by his heart, but by the expectations of a world that demanded perfection. The woman by his side was beautiful, admired, adored by millions, yet when Ken looked into her eyes, he felt nothing but emptiness. There was no spark, no connection, only the heavy silence of two souls pretending for the cameras. He tried to convince himself that maybe love would grow with time. That maybe, if he smiled enough, his heart would eventually follow. But love doesn't work that way. Love isn't built on contracts, on photo shoots, or on what the media wants to see. Late at night, when the lights went out and the crowd's cheers faded, Ken found himself staring at the mirror, wondering who he had become. That man with the charming grin and confident voice wasn't him anymore. He felt hollow, a performer stuck in a role that no longer made sense. People around him only saw success, fame, and glamour. But what Ken felt was something completely different, a quiet despair that grew with every fake smile he gave. He started avoiding interviews, ignoring calls, and spending more time alone. His team thought he was just tired. But in truth, he was losing himself. Each day, he felt the mask slipping, the illusion cracking. And though he knew the world adored the story of them, he also knew that one day, one simple moment, would expose everything. Because lies, no matter how perfect, can never last forever. That moment was closer than anyone realized. And when it came, it didn't just break a relationship, it shattered an entire image. The truth began to surface one quiet afternoon, far away from the red carpets and blinding lights. Yaman had been seen sitting alone at a seaside cafe in Istanbul. No cameras, no stylists, no entourage, just a man lost in thought. Witnesses said his face looked different that day, not the confident actor everyone knew, but a soul carrying something heavy, something unspoken. He wasn't scrolling through his phone or posing for pictures. He was staring out at the waves, as if searching for a piece of himself that fame had taken away. That was when people started whispering. Something wasn't right. His relationship, once painted as a dream come true, had turned into something distant and cold. Behind closed doors, the tension had been growing for months. Arguments about career, control, and jealousy filled the air of what was supposed to be a romantic haven. She wanted more visibility, he wanted peace. She thrived on the attention, on being seen, while he longed for silence. Can's friends tried to intervene, warning him that living in a relationship based on appearances would destroy him, but he kept quiet, afraid that if the truth came out, the media storm would ruin everything he had built. But even silence has limits. During one particularly tense event, the cameras captured a moment that would go viral within minutes. Can smiled as always, but his eyes said everything. That warmth, that spark that fans loved, was gone. The woman beside him tried to hold his hand, but his fingers remained still. That single gesture, that tiny, frozen moment, spread across social media like wildfire. Is something wrong between them? Fans asked. Why does he look so sad? Headlines speculated, interviews were requested, and every photo from that night was dissected like evidence in a crime scene. Inside, Can was collapsing. The act had become unbearable. He knew that people saw him as the romantic hero, but he couldn't lie anymore. The love he was supposed to feel simply wasn't there. He had forced himself to smile so many times that even he had started to forget what real happiness looked like. He missed being genuine, missed laughing for real, talking without scripts, loving without fear. One night, after another event filled with fake smiles and empty words, Can sat alone in his car. The makeup still on his face, the echo of the crowd still in his ears. He looked at himself in the rearview mirror and whispered, "Who am I fooling anymore?" That was the moment he decided it had to end. He didn't know yet that ending it would come with a price, one that would cost him not only his peace but also his reputation. The world would soon discover the truth, and nothing would ever be the same again. It started with a single photograph, one that was never meant to be seen. A journalist, tipped off by someone close to the production, caught Yaman leaving a studio late at night. He wasn't with her. He was alone, his face serious, his phone pressed to his ear. The headline that appeared the next morning read, "Yaman's smile is gone, what is he hiding?" Within hours, it exploded across every entertainment page in Europe. The man who once symbolized charm and passion suddenly looked tired, detached, and heartbreakingly human. As the media frenzy grew, people began digging. Old clips resurfaced, moments that fans had once seen as romantic now appeared staged. A smile that lingered too long, a laugh that never reached his eyes, a hug that seemed more like an obligation than affection. The internet did what it always does, it connected the dots. It was all fake, one comment read. He never really loved her. The idea spread like wildfire, and for the first time, Can didn't deny it. He stayed silent. No statements, no press releases, no interviews. His silence spoke louder than any denial could. Behind the scenes, those close to him knew the truth. Can had tried to make the relationship work, to find something real in the middle of the chaos. But how can love survive when it's built on image, not emotion? Every time he tried to open up, the woman beside him would turn their private pain into a headline. For her, it was content, for him, it was heartbreak. The fake smiles, the orchestrated public appearances, the constant pretending, it had become too much. One evening, when their PR team suggested another couple interview to silence the rumors, Can refused. It was the first time he had ever said no. "I won't lie anymore," he told them. "I can't do this." That decision changed everything. Within days, the woman at the center of it all unfollowed him on social media. Her team released cryptic posts about betrayal and dishonesty, painting herself as the victim. Fans took sides. Some defended her, others turned against her. But everyone was watching, waiting for Can to speak. When he finally did, it wasn't through an interview or a public statement. It was through a quiet message, shared privately with a friend who later confirmed it: "You can't love someone just because the world wants you to." Those words spread everywhere, translated into every language, becoming a symbol of honesty in a world addicted to illusion. The perfect couple was over. The image was shattered. But for Can, it wasn't a scandal, it was liberation. For the first time in years, he didn't have to smile for anyone. Days turned into weeks, and the silence between them became unbearable. Every message went unanswered, every call ignored. The world outside was screaming, speculating, and demanding explanations, but inside, there was only stillness, the kind that comes before everything collapses. Yaman had withdrawn completely from public life. No interviews, no events, no red carpets. The man who once thrived under the spotlight now found peace only in the shadows. He started spending his days by the sea, writing, thinking, and trying to rediscover what happiness truly meant. But the media wouldn't let him breathe. Every quiet day became another rumor. Yaman depressed after breakup. Regrets his choices. The truth behind his fake love. The tabloids printed his pain like entertainment, turning his personal journey into headlines. Still, Ken said nothing. That silence, heavy, deliberate, powerful, made the world even more curious. Fans were divided. Some said he had lied to everyone, that he had built a false story for fame. Others defended him, saying he had finally chosen honesty over performance. Yet one question remained unanswered: who was the woman he truly loved? Those close to Ken noticed something. Whenever her name, the other woman's name, came up, his expression softened. There had been someone else, long before the facade began. Someone who had seen him before the fame, before the chaos, before the fake smiles. She was the only person who ever understood his silence. But circumstances, timing, and fame had separated them. When he entered the relationship that the media later called perfect, his heart had already belonged elsewhere. That's why every kiss, every smile, every public gesture felt hollow, because it was never meant for the woman standing beside him. Late one night, Ken scrolled through old photos on his phone. Hidden among hundreds of images from sets, premieres, and events, there was one that made him pause, a candid shot of him laughing with that woman, the one who had never asked him to be perfect, who had loved him when he was just himself. For a long time, he stared at that photo. That smile, the real one, reminded him of what love was supposed to feel like. Not staged, not polished, not for the world, just real. He realized then that he had spent years running from his truth. Trying to please everyone. Trying to fit into the world's idea of happiness. But you can't fake love. You can't manufacture connection. He had learned that the hard way, and now, he was finally ready to face it. Still, a storm was coming. Because while he had found peace in silence, the world had not. The woman he never loved wasn't ready to let the story end quietly. She had something to say, and what she was about to reveal would reignite everything he thought he had escaped. When she finally decided to speak, the entire entertainment world stopped to listen. The woman everyone once believed to be the love of Yaman's life sat in a studio under bright lights, her eyes perfectly lined, her expression a mix of calm and bitterness. The interview had been promoted for days, her truth about Yaman. It aired on a Friday night, prime time, when millions of viewers were home. She began softly, carefully choosing her words. "People think they know what happened between us," she said, her voice trembling just enough to sound sincere. "But they only saw what the cameras wanted them to see. They don't know how much I loved him, and how much he hurt me." Across social media, the storm reignited instantly. Hashtags trended worldwide, clips from the interview flooded every platform, and once again, Can's name became a battlefield. Some believed her, touched by her tears, others accused her of performing for attention. But one thing was certain, she wasn't done. She spoke of lies, of betrayal, of being made to feel invisible. "He was never really there," she said, looking straight into the camera. "Even when he held my hand, his heart was somewhere else." That single line hit like thunder. Ken watched the interview in silence. Alone in his apartment, the television's glow painted his face in cold light. He didn't flinch, didn't curse, didn't even reach for the remote. He simply listened, because deep down, he knew parts of what she said were true. He hadn't loved her, not the way the world wanted him to. But he had tried. He had tried to protect her from the very world she was now using to destroy him. For years, he had kept quiet to spare her the humiliation of knowing she was never the one. Now that silence was being turned against him. In the days that followed, the media feasted on every word. photos of them together resurfaced. Old interviews were replayed with new interpretations. Every smile was called fake, every glance calculated. Even people who had never met him felt entitled to judge. But something unexpected happened. Some fans began to see through it. They noticed her contradictions, the rehearsed pauses, the perfectly timed tears. "She's acting," one journalist wrote, "and Ken isn't even fighting back." That calm, that refusal to defend himself, became his greatest strength. He didn't post statements, didn't appear on talk shows. Instead, he disappeared again, choosing silence over spectacle. But behind that silence, something was stirring. He had begun to write. Late nights turned into early mornings as he poured his emotions into a collection of private notes, reflections, regrets, and truths he had never spoken aloud. They weren't meant for the public. They were for himself. Yet one of those pages would soon be leaked, and it would change everything. The leak came without warning. One morning, while the world was still debating the woman's interview, an anonymous social media account posted a photograph of handwritten pages, fragments of Yaman's private journal. The caption read only, "The truth he never told." At first, people thought it was fake. But then the handwriting was verified, and his team refused to comment. Within hours, every news outlet was quoting from those notes. They weren't angry words or accusations. They were quiet confessions. "I wanted to love her," one page said. "I wanted to believe the story we built together. But love cannot survive when it starts as a lie. You cannot smile for the world when your heart is empty." The lines hit millions like a punch. Suddenly, the narrative changed. This wasn't a cold man abandoning someone, it was a man suffocating beneath a mask. The leak destroyed any remaining illusion. Talk shows replayed every moment of his public life, now tinted with sadness. But instead of hate, something unexpected happened: empathy. Fans who had once criticized him began to understand. They saw the pressure, the expectations, the loneliness of fame. The hashtags shifted from anger to support, #let Can Be Real, #the truth behind the smile. For the first time, Can's honesty became more powerful than any performance he had ever given. The woman's team tried to fight back, accusing him of manipulation, claiming the notes were staged for sympathy. But the tone of those pages was too raw, too human to fake. "Maybe I never loved her," one entry read, "but I never wanted to hurt her either. I only wanted peace." That line silenced the noise. Because in the end, everyone could see that peace was all he had ever searched for. Weeks later, Ken appeared again in public, not for a film premiere, not for an award show, but for a quiet charity event for children. No luxury suit, no flashing lights. Just him, smiling gently, genuinely. Reporters noticed the difference immediately. His eyes, once clouded with exhaustion, now looked calm. Someone asked him if he regretted anything. He paused, looked straight into the camera, and said softly, "I don't regret the lie. I regret losing myself in it." That one sentence became legendary, shared, quoted, printed on magazine covers. In the months that followed, his career shifted. He chose projects that felt real, distant from the glossy image that had trapped him for years. Interviews became rare but honest. He no longer played the flawless hero, he played broken, complicated men, reflections of himself. And audiences loved him more than ever. The woman who once stood beside him faded from the headlines, her fame built on drama that couldn't survive without his silence. But Can's story endured, not as gossip, but as a lesson. Behind every perfect smile, there can be a silent war. Behind every ideal couple, a hidden truth. And as the world watched him walk away from the illusion that once defined him, one thing became clear: Yaman hadn't just ended a fake love story, he had begun to live for the first time.